North Carolina's Supreme Court ruled the state's 2022 primary elections must be delayed as gerrymandering lawsuits play out in court, leaving open the possibility that district maps could be redrawn. The maps in question would give the GOP a sizable advantage in statewide elections over the next decade, unless courts rule that they must be redrawn. Joining me now with more is Nick Ochsner. He's the chief investigative reporter at WBTV in Charlotte, North Carolina, and friend of the program. Nick, good to see you again. So who exactly is filing suit to get these maps changed, and what are they saying is the issue?
Filed one lawsuit was actually filed before the official map finalized. Among the groups involved, though, is Mark Elias, the Democratic attorney who files lawsuits challenging maps, among other things, all over the country. The NAACP has filed a lawsuit. A group called the North Carolina League of Conservation Voters has also filed a lawsuit. And so this is being attacked on multiple fronts. The underlying claim in the case that's resulted in the stay, or cases that have prompted the state Supreme Court to issue this stay, is whether or not the maps illegally used partisan voter considerations in drawing them. And so no one has reached a determination on the merits yet. What the state Supreme Court ruled last night was that they are going to hold off and delay the primaries until the merits of these claims can be decided and heard, and then we'd go from there.
Yeah, in fact, primary elections are moved from March 8th to May 17th. So, Nick, what's the impact of that decision?
Yeah, well, it impacts almost every race that was supposed to be up for election in March. And that includes all sorts of races that involve districts and not. It's interesting because originally there had been a stay placed on this election one day last week, 18 minutes before filing was supposed to open last week. And that only impacted state legislative and U.S. congressional races, and the filing period for every other race was allowed to go on like normal. But the stay issued by the state Supreme Court stays all of the filing period for all races, and pushes them back.
Yeah, because this ruling applies to races that are not even affected by these new maps. Help us understand that, Nick. Why?
I don't have a crystal ball, and the way our Supreme Court operates is this issue is actually just kind of entered down in an order that's a couple sentences. We don't actually even know the voting lines, how the state Supreme Court justices cited. That being said, what we've seen previously, and even with that order that was entered for about a day last week that I mentioned, is a lot of confusion. So if I put my crystal ball on and tried to guess why the justices issued the order that they did, it's to keep from having multiple election days coming up, kind of have a reset. The court also ordered that the trial court should hear the entire case and issue a ruling by mid-January, which would give them time to hear appeals after that. And so it seems, although I don't know because they didn't explain themselves, that the court's trying to put this in and have some order and go from there.
Right, keep it simple, because one could see potentially how it might be confusing for voters based on various districts, and so perhaps it could be that the court maybe was seeking to kind of do away with any confusion, but you said we don't have a crystal ball. Let me turn to another topic, Nick. Politico reports that former President Trump is offering former Congressman Mark Walker an endorsement if Walker leaves the Senate race and runs for a House seat. Why might he want Walker to steer clear of the Senate race?
Well, former President Trump has already made an endorsement in the U.S. Senate race. He endorsed Ted Budd, kind of in a surprise announcement months ago. And so he's already made an endorsement in that race. Right now, Mark Walker is the trailing of three Republican candidates vying for the Republican primary. It's former Congressman Mark Walker, current Congressman Ted Budd, and then former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory. Again, Trump endorsed Ted Budd in that race. And so likely he's trying to draw him out of that race and dangling him a carrot where he could get in with an endorsement in another contest.
Well, Nick, former Congresswoman Renee Ellmers is running to represent North Carolina's 4th Congressional District. She left Congress after an alleged affair with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, something both parties denied. But what do you think her prospects of returning to Congress are?
Well, the more interesting reason she left Congress, Elaine, was that she lost a primary. And she lost a primary with Donald Trump's endorsement. She'd been double bunked with now former Congressman George Holding, who's since retired, but he beat her. And so it was notable. It was one of the first, if not the first time, a Trump endorsed candidate had lost a Republican primary. So she's jumping back in a race in kind of a newly drawn district. But already there are two other announced candidates Republican candidates running in that district, a current fairly prominent and very powerful state House member, as well as a former mayor of Fayetteville. That district is of the Sandhills region, and so that former Republican mayor of Fayetteville, North Carolina, is also announced for that seat. So if she gets in, stands to reason she could get Trump's endorsement again, although, again, who knows, and could be formidable, but that will end up being a pretty messy primary as well.
All right, Nick Ochsner. Nick, great to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.